Sorry, that was my stupid idea of an opener. The first one.
That was it?
It's like ASMR, but terrible.
I thought it had something to do with... I was like, did I miss something in Challengers?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I literally got the idea at work because I was like, I want coffee. And then I was like, what if I just start the podcast with like a of coffee?
Nice. What was your other idea?
My other idea was I really want to play tennis this summer.
Yes, you have been saying that. So
I've
it is a
been saying
true
it forever.
statement.
Well,
Yeah.
now do you know why?
Because you want to be in like a gay situationship.
No, because I want to listen to the soundtrack while I play tennis.
Oh, that's also
Yeah.
fair. I was going to say the other option is you want to date or / marry Zendaya, which I think is also a fair.
Yeah, and then have
know.
like a gay situationship with either Mike Faster or Josh O'Connor.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Which one do you think you are? Well, how about out of the three of them, which one do you think you are?
Out of the three of them, I'm going to go with Mike Faced because I feel like he's just like the white guy of the movie. And I'm just like, I'm just a white guy. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
the only reason.
I think I'm absolutely Art Donaldson.
Yeah.
Because I have lost my love for everything that I once loved doing.
Exactly. Maybe I'm the other guy Art Donaldson, because I'm just like, I'm being ordered around and I'm just doing shit at this point.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah. So neither one of us is Josh O'Connor.
I don't think we're like cool enough
I
to
was
be
gonna
Josh
say the same
O'Connor.
thing. The exact thing,
To
actually.
be
Cool.
honest.
Yeah.
Which is so ironic that he plays King Charles III in The Crown.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I
Plays
didn't.
the ultimate like uncool guy. Not like I'm not passing judgment on it. I'm just like he doesn't seem like a I'm the cool guy kind of person.
I did know he was English though,
Yeah.
because he does a great American accent, except for one time he's about to serve and he says anything instead of anything, and then you hear Mike say anything in an actual American accent, and you're like, oh, okay, he's British.
Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Anything. Hello and welcome back to the Uncultured Pop Culture Podcast. As usual, I'm David Exarian.
And I am Brandon Roback, my full name.
I decided to go back.
Let's do it. We haven't done it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just reminding everybody who we are.
Yeah,
and that they
exactly.
can find us on Instagram under those names.
And then they can stalk us
Yes.
if
and
they want.
see all the interesting things that we're up to, which...
Like staying inside and not doing anything.
Right, which
Yeah.
we'll post about once a year, probably.
Exactly. And we can't forget that you are the co-host today.
I am the co-host. Yeah. You know, that's how things go sometimes.
We have to bring it up at this point.
We do. Yeah. So what have you been watching or listening to this past week?
Well, okay. I've actually been listening to Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande a little, because you showed me one of the songs from that album.
Into You was the song, by the way.
Which is really good. And then I listened to it and I'm like, damn, there's a lot of songs I like on here. But yeah, I didn't know if I should mention it because we are actually going to do an episode. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I really, and before I listened to this album and the song you showed me, the only thing I knew about her was like who she was and some of the, controversies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then also the fact that she's like a good mimic, when she sings. Have you seen that? Like, because I've seen her on SNL, like mimics. Yeah. So I knew that, and then Wicked. And those were the only things I knew about her.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about her music.
You never saw Victorious?
No, I
Or
didn't.
Sam and Cat? Yeah.
No. Well, I know she like started out as an actress, right?
Yeah, Nickelodeon.
Yeah. But I didn't know anything else.
Yeah, she did Broadway stuff too for a while.
Makes sense. I mean, if you can sing and act, why not do Broadway?
Exactly.
Yeah, and dance.
And then, and then nobody cares about the dancing part because you can just learn that.
Yeah.
Which it kind of sucks because I think when you see a good dancer, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it levels up.
Yeah,
for
but I
sure.
feel like most people can pull it off except for like Katy Perry.
Oh, God.
Have you seen the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
What, the one of her dancing with the Pope in Vegas?
No, the one of her on stage for her like current tour.
We're contributing to the hatred towards Katy Perry.
We are.
right
I
now.
personally don't hate her. I don't have an opinion on her.
Yeah, this is like the third week in a row that
I know.
you've brought her
It just
up.
like she's in the news so much.
She is
guess.
unfortunately an easy punching bag. But when you work with Dr. Luke willingly, it's kind
exactly.
of like,
Well, also fun fact, she is married to Orlando Bloom from Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did know that. I
Yeah.
think we did bring it up at that point.
Really?
But I don't know.
forgot.
I don't know. I haven't listened to the episode in 4 weeks or whatever it is at this point.
Yeah. But the other thing that I watched was Dirty Dancing.
Oh.
Yeah. Which,
had you seen it before? I assume?
Oh, yeah. I grew up with that movie. My grandmother would show us, and then my mom would be like, they're too little. But I was like, I don't understand what any of this stuff is, what any of the sex or abortion stuff is. Not to spoil it.
I didn't realize there's an abortion in it.
Yeah. Trigger warning. Sorry, I should have added that. But okay, let's go traumatize all our audience. Not kidding.
Yeah.
You guys are old enough.
Probably. I don't know. I think our audience is prepared for anything.
No, yeah. At this point, yeah.
I mean, last week I described John Malkovich's performance as being rapey multiple times. So
That's true.
I don't know.
At this point, they're like, yeah, I'm up.
You just, they'll be prepared at this point. I mark every episode as explicit when we're distributing it. So, just to be safe.
Don't listen with your kids.
Yeah. Or tell your kids to listen separately without you and then talk about it later.
Yeah, exactly.
About why Dangerous Liaisons is a bad movie.
About why it's actually a really good movie. I will fight you on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you watch or listen?
I haven't really been watching much, but
no TV shows?
Well, I'm still watching Psych. So
okay. Yeah.
Like, it's good. Nothing like new to update. It's just like a solid good show.
Yeah.
Like there haven't been any bad episodes. This New Music Friday, we're recording on a Friday today. This New Music Friday was awful. There was really like nothing that came out that was worth my time. But there was one song that was really good that came out earlier this week, which I've brought up multiple times to you, I think once on this podcast before, Hotel Apache. Shout out to them, California boys.
Definitely got to listen to
Yes, they released a new song called Rewind, which I really like. I listened to on my drive over here today. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Highly recommend. Listen to them because they're very small, and I think they're going to blow up because
I can see that.
They've got a good vibe.
Because I've listened to some of their music, right? Like in your car. Yeah.
Yeah. I've played you some as I was driving you around.
Yeah, I think they will blow up. They kind of, and I don't know if this is true, but they kind of give me like similar vibes to Vampire Weekend.
Interesting. Yeah, they're definitely more of a like pop style, but they do have like a little bit of like alternative in there. Should we get into this week's music?
Let's do it.
We have done 2 British musicians in a row, which I assume you knew S.G. Lewis was British.
Well, I looked him up.
Yes.
And I saw that he's British.
Yes. So shout out to the British. I really, really like your music.
Unlike their movies.
Right. Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Right. Our second foray into dance music. This is more along the new disco, which new is spelled N-U, of course. Very important distinction. Because it had to be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is new disco. There's elements of house in here. There's a little bit of French house sometimes. But yeah, this is our second EDM album.
That's right.
And you had mentioned to me when I saw you earlier this week that you had enjoyed this.
Yeah, I had actually kind of spoiled it. I did enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I honestly think that I probably like, EDM, not all of it probably, because I know there's a lot of subgenres, but at least French house and new disco so far.
Yeah, for sure. So this album is called AudioLust and HigherLove by S.G. Lewis, and it was released in 2023, January 27th, 2023 by PMR, Jasmine, and EMI, which I thought I should probably do record labels, especially for EDM, because it's very important what label you're on in EDM.
Why is it so important?
The label kind of dictates a sound generally, and there's a very labels are very important in EDM because it's kind of part of the machine. It still is it kind of functions like how a lot of genres used to. It's not as important now as you can self-distribute your music, but it's still very much if you have that kind of cosign of a label, especially a lot of EDM labels are founded by producers and DJs. So they have something that they're looking for, and then they'll personally be yes, I like your music, So that's important. I don't remember who owns PMR or Jasmine, but I know there are English producers. And then EMI is just the big one, you know. So this is a new disco album. It's got some inspiration from house music, from dance pop, and R&B.
Which I feel like you can see.
Definitely, yeah. This is the second album by British producer S.G. Lewis, Samuel George Lewis. And it was preceded by a lot of singles. It had a lead double single because this album is 2 parts. It's the AudioLust and it's the HigherLove part.
Oh, that didn't like come together. in
Yeah,
my brain.
which I didn't really know. We'll talk about where it splits because I feel like there's kind of, it's either going to be like track 8 or 9 because it's 15 songs long, you know?
Yeah.
But there were a lot of singles before this. It had a lead double single, Missing You and Something About Your Love, which came out in July of 2022. Then Vibe Like This came out in September, which included the B-side Infatuation. Call on Me came out in October, Lifetime in November, and then Fever Dreamer a few weeks before in January of 2023.
Half the album right there.
It is, yeah. It's a lot of songs. So with that, should we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Track 1 is the intro, which is just written and produced by Samuel George Lewis. And track 2 is Infatuation, written by Ed Druitt, Orlando Higginbottom, who also goes by the name Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs, which he's changed to TEED now.
Teed.
Yes, which I'll probably just say his name because it seems like he's kind of going through a rebranding right now. So shout out Orlando and SG Lewis. And it's produced by SG Lewis and Orlando Higginbottom. I want to do these two songs together because the intro really just kind of facilitates the start of Infatuation.
Yeah, and it goes directly into it, so absolutely.
Yeah. So what did you think about these?
Intro, I thought, is a really great start. You know, like a slow start that slowly ramps up the album and like pretty much pulls you into it. And I particularly love the way that it works as one song with Infatuation.
Yeah.
Where you have the build, then little pause, and then the beat drop. So I'm just going to come out and say it. Infatuation was my favorite song on the whole album.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love this song.
I wrote down what I thought your favorite song was going to be, and it comes later.
Yeah.
So I was not predicting
We'll see.
this
It
one.
might be like my second favorite.
Okay.
But yeah, I absolutely adore this song. It honestly reminded, well, I mean, it makes sense why it reminded me a little bit of Daft Punk.
Yeah.
And then also the Challenger's score.
Yes,
Because that's also kind of EDM.
We will be talking about some of the Daft Punk influences because I think there are 2 songs on here that are very specifically, like, you can tell that there's a Daft Punk influence there. I do agree with you on this one, but I think there's some other ones where it's even more apparent.
I want to hear which ones are specific. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was great. I said it kind of feels like a lo-fi dance song, you know, like in the sense that it's like a very relaxing kind of dance song.
Yeah, I had perfect for the pool side. It's
Yeah.
very summery song.
Exactly. Yeah, this is my favorite song. I gave Infatuation a 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and perfect score.
Intro of 4. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
I really love Infatuation.
I gave Infatuation a 3.5, which I thought was very good.
Yeah. That's
I
a
didn't
good
rate
score.
the intro just because I don't on principle because it's just an intro.
I felt like it deserved a rating just for me, but yeah.
That's fair.
It's a 4
so
for me.
A 5. This is your second 5? Or no, third 5 because you rated Viva La Vida a 5.
Yeah, third 5, I think.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, we're off to a good start. Actually,
We
no,
are.
Veritas Quo, I think you gave a 5 too as well.
Wait, that's right. I've given quite a few. I feel like
we've gotten a few now.
Yeah.
So that's good.
It's definitely more 5s.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was not expecting you to have a 5 off of this album. I thought the highest you'd go is 4.5 personally.
Really?
So you're already surprising me, which I think is good. That moves us onto track number 3, which is called Holding On, written by Connor Albert Quinlan, Ed Druitt, Jay Moonsey, Ruben James, and SG Lewis, and produced by SG Lewis. This one's a more R&B influenced song.
Right.
And also, got a shout out to the Lynn drum on here, just like Daft Punk used. You can hear the very like specific claps in this one from the Lynn drum.
Would you say that this is a song where Daft Punk influenced SG Lewis, or is it just a common instrument?
It's not necessarily common, but it is definitely making more of a comeback now of people wanting that kind of retro sound. And that's really like what the Lynn drum is usually used for. I do think that this whole album like is influenced by Daft Punk because of how like influential they are and because this is a similar genre. I mean, disco influenced house, and then house has kind of influenced new disco because it's everything is cyclical, you know. But there are still a lot of house elements to this album, so there's definitely like an influence in all of these songs for sure.
Right.
This one is a 3 for me. I wrote because the vocals aren't my favorite on this song, but there is a guitar solo on the bridge, which I think is pretty cool.
Right.
But
that's interesting that yours is solo because I give this one a 4.
Okay. Yeah.
To the point that the drum kind of gives it a retro vibe. the first thing I wrote down is that it feels so 80s and 2010s at the same time.
Very cool.
Which I do really like.
Yeah. That's similar to the Daft Punk vibe, which I feel like is kind of why you asked that, because you had said the same thing about a few of their songs where it's both old and new at the same time.
Oh yeah, and I think you can hear that on multiple songs here.
Definitely.
And I do really like that. And I like, just like the last song, I feel like I could dance to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
EDM.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know that's the point, but it's like, I don't know, there's something special about when you like listen to a song and are thinking about dancing to it when you're like sitting down, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought this was one of those songs. I don't think it's as strong as Infatuation, obviously based off my scores, but I still really, really enjoyed it.
Track 4 is Call on Me, featuring Tove Lo, I believe is how you say her name. She always says it so fast, and she has a Swedish accent, so I can never, like... But people call her Tove Lo, which has been, like, the pronunciation that she never corrected anybody on for, like, 10 years. So, shout out to her. I think she's really good. This one's written by Orlando Higginbottom, S.G. Lewis, and Tove Lo. Produced by S.G. Lewis and Orlando Higginbottom. This one is a retro 80s synth-pop song, and I wrote on here, I think this will be your favorite.
Really? This one was a 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did really like it. Interestingly enough, the first thing that came to my mind was that it felt more modern than some of the other songs, which is interesting because it is like a retro 80s song.
I think for me, it was specifically the drum beat. There were a few songs on here where they have very like 80s heavy percussion drum beats. I can see that, yeah. And I think that the fact that the synth is also present, probably it follows her melody as she's singing in the chorus.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is a good song. I kind of want to listen to it again with the mindset of it being an 80s retro song, but I liked it. I particularly like how the song builds to the chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the best parts of the song.
I wrote down that I didn't like the chorus as much on this one as I liked the verses. I felt like the verses and the pre-chorus especially were super strong.
I feel like those are the strongest parts. Those stand out the most.
This one is a 3 for me. It's fine. It doesn't like do a ton for me. It's still like good, and I'm not going to turn it off.
Now I'm very intrigued by what you gave this whole album.
Yes. Well, I think you're about to be intrigued by the next song. Which is Oh Laura, written by Ed Druitt, Orlando Higginbottom, and S.G. Lewis, and produced by S.G. Lewis and Orlando Higginbottom. I wrote this one is tied as my favorite song from the album.
Oh wow,
4.5.
Nice. All right, so now I'm kind of seeing where it's shifting. Yeah.
Yes, this one has very sparse production that is doing like just enough at a few parts to make it like super interesting, and it often like follows the voice as he's singing, which I think is really good. It's definitely a risk, and I think it works super well on this song, and love his vocals on this song. I saw like people are split on his vocals. I think Pitchfork didn't like them at all, but who cares what Pitchfork thinks, because they're stupid.
Who is what is Pitchfork?
It's a magazine that like does music reviews, but they're often wrong about everything. Yeah. So
sounds about right. For a music magazine.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is just a fun synth pop song about breaking up with someone. That's what I wrote. But yeah, I love this one. 4.5.
Yeah, I gave this one a 3.5.
Okay. Continuing the trend of me liking
exactly
songs.
But I feel like our divides aren't that big now on this album. But yeah, I definitely noted that the production feels very, very different compared to the previous songs. And I think for me, that kind of didn't make it as catchy for me.
Interesting. You like the more house BPM?
I think so, yeah. I think that's kind of what caught me with a lot of the previous songs.
Okay, interesting.
That being said, I agree that the vocal performance on this song is really, really good. And I would say overall in this whole album, I really like S.G. Lewis's vocal performances.
I agree. Yeah. I think he does have a really good voice.
Yeah.
People said it was kind of forgettable, which I don't know.
Think so. Like, I think it just meshes with the songs very well.
Right.
I don't think you want it to stand out too much.
Exactly. And he's not a vocalist. He's a producer first. And the production is really what shines on this album, which is good. That's what I like.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Number 6 is Missing You, written by Ed Druitt, Jay Moonsey, Reuben James, and S.G. Lewis, and produced by S.G. Lewis. This is a new disco song through and through. This was the co-lead single.
Right.
And I wrote down here that this one grew on me a lot. I didn't like this one at first. I didn't like it. I liked it enough, but it didn't like catch my ear.
Yeah.
And then the more I listened to it, I was like, oh, actually, I do really like this one. And I really love the vocal layers in the chorus specifically.
I gave this one a 4.
Ooh, 3.5 for me.
Yeah, I did like this song. interestingly enough, it kind of, again, feels like more of an 80s song to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I want to ask, was a sample used in this?
I couldn't find one.
Yeah.
I don't believe so. The only song that I found that had a sample is way towards the end, which I'll bring up.
Right.
But I was also curious about that because I thought that some of these felt like they had samples, but I think he's just like making all of this stuff by himself.
Yeah, because when I was listening to this, I thought, like, it felt familiar to me. To the point that I was thinking, is there a sample here of a song that I know from the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a really good ability to make songs that feel like you've just known them, you know?
Yeah,
like a
that's
few
true.
of these songs, I'm like, I mean, I've heard this before, but like when they came out, I was like, oh, I feel like I've heard this before. Like how didn't it exist?
Yeah, I agree with that. I particularly liked the ending on this song. And I also wanted to say, it's interesting that to me, the songs on this album kind of mesh together the way they did on Kesha's, on Animal.
I agree.
But for me, it works here, whereas there it didn't.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
I think it's a little bit softer.
Maybe
Like,
that's why, yeah.
It's in a way it's easier on the ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not saying that I don't like Kesha's album because I do.
Yeah. No, but I mean...
But, you know, there is definitely more of a smooth vibe to this album. And it's polished in a 2020s kind of way, where Kesha's is very much a, like, we're kind of figuring out how to make this kind of music.
Yeah, and also, this is 2010s, like, part of the style is to be kind of unpolished at the same time.
Right, and to be loud and compressed.
Very loud, yeah.
Yeah. That brings us into track number 7, Another Life. This one is written by Ed Druitt, Julian Bonetta, and S.G. Lewis. Shout out Julian Bonetta. He has not appeared on any of our albums yet, but he will appear in the future because he's a very prolific songwriter, especially in the late 2010s, early 2020s. He did a lot of work with Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did he work on her latest album?
I believe so. I know for sure he worked on the one before that.
Because, I mean, if he worked on her latest album, he knows how to write some catchy songs.
Yeah, I believe he did. So this song, I said, is a good vibe with an acoustic guitar, which gives it a different feeling. And this one really reminds me of the progressive and deep house of the early 2010s, but it has vocals. A lot of the progressive and deep house that I listened to around that time was just kind of like driving, and it would be like 6 or 7 minutes long, and it was just like not changing at all, which I liked because I like that. But
it's like the Pink Floyd of EDM or something.
Exactly, yeah. But this feels like it's got more of a pop influence to it, and it's got more to say. But I loved the production on this one a lot.
Yeah, it does feel a lot quieter than the previous songs, which I think is because of the acoustic guitar. I particularly like the builds in this song, which I think overall in this album, he's very good at building up to things. You know, he pulls it off in like whenever he does do it in whichever song really, really well. When I was listening to this song, I wrote down just for the general album that I love the production. It's, I think across the board, it is top notch.
I agree.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I feel like the notes for this song were kind of for the whole album.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, I gave this one a 4, which is like a lot of 4s. Yeah.
This one's a 3.5 for me. So very similar.
Yeah.
I think you are going to actually like this album more than me, which is surprising.
Hey, never say never. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this one, so it makes me feel weird. That moves us to track 8, which is Fever Dreamer, featuring Charlotte Day Wilson and Channel Trace. Written by Channel Trace, Charlotte Day Wilson, Rome Castile, S.G. Lewis, and Sol Was. I don't know how to say his name. Solwas. I don't know if it's Sol or Soul.
Probably Soul.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be like Solomon.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I couldn't ever find like more of his name. But this one is produced by S.G. Lewis. This is the song where I think it splits. I think this is where we start Higher Love.
I could see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's either this one or Epiphany, I think, which is the next one.
Yeah.
But
I feel like this one makes sense.
I feel like this one, it gets a little bit darker here now. Like, I don't know if Higher Love is supposed to be darker, but it, like, some of the songs later on feel a little bit darker to me.
The first one is Love. The second one is Lust. Or no, wait. The first one is Lust. The second one is Love.
So when you're in love, you're darker. But when you're in lust, you're
deeper
like...
in.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You're blinded by the positive emotions. This one, I think, has a great chunky bass line, and it's got a piano at the end, which you have to shout out the piano. Love the piano. And this song is, I wrote down, it's kind of understated and somewhat forgettable to me because he has another song with Channel Trace that also features Robin, and it's called Impact. And I always go to that one. Like when I think about S.G. Lewis and Channel Trace, I always think about Impact before this song because that one's just a little bit catchier to me.
Yeah. This song didn't work that well for me either. The thing is, this is a 3.5 because I love the production itself so much. I think that the lyrics, or not the lyrics, the vocals take away from it. I think it should have just been music without any
Interesting.
lyrics. I think
that might be the first time you've said that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know. But yeah, I think if it had been like that, this would be a 4 for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that kind of, like the music itself stopped it from going down to 3. I just think that ultimately the vocals take away from it.
I would be curious. I'm sure we'll do his other album, Times, because that has a song on it, which I also absolutely love.
Yeah.
But I would be curious to see what you think of Impact, because I think it's similar to this song, but it's got more to it in a way.
Yeah, I'm very interested in listening to Impact. Yeah.
That moves us on to track number 9, which is almost 9 minutes long, Epiphany.
Yep.
This is one of the Daft Punk songs, I said. This one is written by Orlando Higginbottom and S.G. Lewis and produced by S.G. Lewis and Orlando Higginbottom. I said, I can see the Daft Punk influence. That's the first thing I wrote on here.
Oh, yeah.
We have a 303 acid-style lead at the end, which is very reminiscent of Homework era Daft Punk. That's kind of when the 303s were more popular.
Yeah.
This song, I said, doesn't do a ton for me. It's a good vibe, but ultimately I find it forgettable. And this breaks my track 9 theory. This is probably my least favorite song on the album.
Damn.
You
okay, what would you give it?
I gave it a 3. So it's still good. It's just not obviously. Like, I don't know. I felt like it just really, I never really got into the vibe of it.
Yeah. We are staying true to our divide theory.
This is a 4.5 for you?
This is a 4.5. This is my second favorite song on the whole album.
Okay.
Yeah. It just worked for me.
Yeah.
And now that you say it is one of the songs that is obviously influenced by Daft Punk, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why I like it so much.
I want to listen to it again now, taking your line of saying like, maybe it will click for me.
Yeah, like maybe. I think maybe listen to it a few times.
Yeah.
Now that you said that it was influenced by Daft Punk, I can totally see it where, it in many ways sounds similar to like one of Daft Punk's slower, more relaxed songs, because that is very much what this is, or what it felt like to me. It's like a slower, relaxed dance song with really interesting rhythmics, which is why I think it worked for me really, really well. And I feel like this is one of the songs that you could just throw on the radio.
Oh, absolutely.
While you're driving.
This is a great, also like this whole album, I feel like, is a great beach album.
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
You bring your Bluetooth speaker to the beach, you throw it on, nobody's complaining because it's just good vibes. Yeah,
and like the people that are like playing terrible something or other. And you're like, get the hell out of here. Yeah,
yeah. Go to the beach and they're playing Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
No offense, but
all our fans leave. We're kidding. Kind of.
Somewhat.
Halfway
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Track number 10 is Lifetime. Written by Ed Druitt, Jay Moonsey, Nathaniel J. Warner, Reuben James, and S.G. Lewis, and produced by S.G. Lewis. This is one of the catchiest choruses on the album. I think it is very LA or very Miami Beach.
I can see
whatever
that,
like city you want to go with. I choose LA first. I've never been to Miami.
Because we're here.
Yeah, because we're here. And, LA Beach, that's kind of a whole thing that we have going on. You know?
The surfers.
Right.
Yeah.
And this song, to me, felt like an homage to American soul and R&B. This is a British guy's attempt at making like a soul and R&B song, and it totally works for me. This is a 4. This is one of my favorites from the album.
That's really interesting.
But not the 4.5s, which there is another one.
Yeah. This is interesting because I didn't think it was as memorable as a lot of the other songs. I still give it a 3.5 though, because it still works really well. I thought it had an interesting bridge, which I wanted to shout out.
Yeah.
And I do think that the use of repetition is interesting. I like it. It just, I don't think clicked as much as a lot of the other songs on this album for me.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah, this one is just a vibe to me. I like the vibe in
Which
it.
I feel like a lot of songs on this album are vibe songs.
Very much.
Which I really do like.
Yeah.
I think I'm realizing that I like vibe songs.
There are the two songs that I feel like that aren't the vibe songs, that aren't like solely vibe songs, and those are my two favorites on here, which one of them was Olora, and then the other one, you'll find out.
Which I agree with. I mean, I'll find out the second one, but Olora I completely agree with.
Yeah.
Not being a vibe song.
Yeah. It still has like a little bit of his like stuff,
No, definitely.
but it's more
it feels
like,
different though.
Definitely. Yeah. Which this song feels different too. Plain Sailing, track number 11. This is written by Ed Druitt and S.G. Lewis and produced by S.G. Lewis. I said it almost feels like a folk pop or like a sunshine pop Beach Boys kind of song.
I agree with that.
It's got a little bit more of like a indie or like a pop rock sound to it.
I completely agree with that because I also wrote that. And I was trying to find the right words to describe it. The way I ended up describing it is 2010's indie pop.
Okay, yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind went. Kind of thinking about songs like, and obviously it's not one-to-one. They're very different. But that style, thinking about songs like Riptide or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this. I think it's a good vibe song too.
I agree.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.
This one's a 3 for me. I think the reason that I always had it lower is because one of the background melodies isn't like completely quantized to the is a very
you're approaching it as a producer,
yes,
pretty much.
And I don't know why, but that's always just kind of annoyed me. But it is a nice vibe if you don't think about it as like, if I'm looking at it like as a track, I'm like, oh my god, I need to move this note over, you know?
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a totally legitimate way to approach it. You know, I'm certain that cinematographers watch a movie and they're like, oh my god, this shot is ugly. I gotta like dock it something, you know?
Yeah.
So I completely agree. Like, or I can understand, not agree, but understand.
Yeah, I do still really like
I don't
this
know
song.
enough of music to hear that.
That's fair. Number 12 fits the whole thing we were talking about. It's called The Vibe Like This, which this song is definitely a vibe. That's what I wrote. Featuring Ty Dolla $ign and Lucky Day, written by Connor Albert Quinlan, Lucky Day, S.G. Lewis, and Ty Dolla $ign, and produced by S.G. Lewis. It's got a bass line. It's got a piano. It's got some good vocals. That's basically all I have to say about it.
Ironically, I don't vibe with the song that much, to be honest. This is a 3.5 for me. Or sorry, no, a 3.
This is a 3 for me as well.
Yeah. And I noticed a trend with this song where on any song where guests do the vocals, where it isn't integrated into, you know, the music as much, end up not working for me. They're always weaker for me.
Interesting, yeah.
And I noticed that with this song, because then I went back and I was like, wow, like any song where you do have that, I did rate it at least a little bit lower.
I was going to bring that up if you didn't, because I've noticed that as well. So you do like S.G. Lewis's vocals like on his own music a lot.
I honestly think his vocals best fit his music.
Yeah,
you know,
I can see that.
I think they fit his music more than other people's vocals.
I will say there are other songs that he's had from his like first EPs or from the last album where I do think the guests like can outshine him at some parts.
I mean, I'm obviously like, I'm not like, oh, that's the way it's always going to be.
Yeah.
I'm just like in this particular album.
I agree with you on this album though, for sure. Yeah, I do think that his vocals are generally not like better, but they fit his like what he's going for.
Oh, yeah. And I'm very intrigued to listen to the other songs on his other albums where, like you said, the guests like fit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That moves us into track number 13, Different Light. This one is short. Written by Ed Druitt, Julian Bonetta, shout out, Paul Mond, and S.G. Lewis, and produced by S.G. Lewis. I wrote 2 words, trippy and dark.
To the point that it's short, I wrote, ultimately don't have that much to say about this song.
I don't either. It's a 3. It's good, but it's not like
it's a 3.
revolutionary.
5. You know, I liked it.
Yeah.
Something interesting though is I did write down after I said I don't have much to say about the song. I did write down something generally about the whole album. It did feel like the second half of this album does feel a little long.
I agree.
And I was like, honestly, this album should be 13 songs, I think.
Yep. That's perfect length for an album.
Yeah.
13.
I was thinking like this like this and Vibe Like This could have gone, or something like that. I'm not specifically choosing which ones I think should have gone, but like 2 could have gone and it would have been tighter.
For you to probably be vibe like this in Fever Dreamer.
Probably.
I'd assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this song either. I think it works in the context of the album.
Oh, yeah, it
it's
does.
Fun. It's just not like super memorable.
Yeah.
But that brings us into track 14, the other co-lead single, which I do think is a very memorable song, Something About Your Love.
I agree.
Written by James Harris, S.G. Lewis, Sophie Francis Cook, and Terry Lewis. Unrelated. I believe Terry Lewis is from The Sample, because this is the song that is a sample.
Right.
It's produced by S.G. Lewis, and it samples Tender Love by Force MDs. This is a super clean disco house song that works in every way. I wrote, like Lifetime, it has a great chorus with huge stacked vocals.
Yep.
This is the other Daft Punk song.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the Rhodes break, and then you get the synth guitar solo at the end. It's so...
Which was what I was going to... I did want to ask what instrument that was, because I couldn't tell.
I do think it is a synth,
yeah,
like pretending to be a guitar, like Daft Punk did.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it also fits. Yeah, because he does have a guitar solo earlier in the album. And then we have the synth guitar solo in Higher Love, not AudioLust. The ascending arpeggio stab, I think, adds a ton of motion to it. Like on the downbeat, you get that. And I think it feels like water, almost like it's water falling, kind of.
I agree.
And then I saw two comments. One on Rate Your Music said, "This sounds like a Discovery era Daft Punk song."
Yeah.
And the one comment, the lone comment on the Genius page is, "This sounds like Digital Love by Daft Punk," which that was my favorite song from that album. This one's a 4. This has the most potential of going up to a 4.5 because I absolutely love this song.
Right.
I think this is one of the best examples of this style and of him doing this style.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's a 4 for me too. And to your point, I think the chorus is really what stands out the most.
Chorus is so good.
It's so good. The build up, and then when it drops out, boom. It's just, I think it's perfect, and it's very, very satisfying.
Yes,
which is what I think makes the song work so well.
This being the co-lead single as well.
I can totally see why they chose this song.
Yes, the other song, which was listed first on the single. Had, I don't know how many, let's just say like 5 million streams, and this one had 12.
Yeah.
It was like, there's a very big discrepancy of like, oh yeah, this is a masterpiece by him.
You can see why.
Yeah. And for all the like, well, he's copying Daft Punk kind of comments that there'll be, they did something and he said, I can do it too. And then he made his own thing, which is equally as good.
He's not just copying them. He's building on it.
Exactly. Yeah. And they may have paved the way, but he's obviously doing something different. Otherwise, this would have been done by them.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's like the same thing when people, I don't know, they will look at some movie that maybe wasn't received as well, and they're like, how dare this director like rip off scenes from other movies. And then they're like, Tarantino's amazing, which is like he does the exact same thing.
Exactly.
That's 90% of his movies.
That's how
art works.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever the saying is, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Exactly.
I think it is
something like that. Yeah.
That brings us to the last song, which is Honest. If you haven't guessed so far, this is tied for my other favorite song. Written by Orlando Higginbottom and S.G. Lewis and produced by S.G. Lewis. The vocals are great, and it's basically a half and half. It's like the regular song, and then it's half outro, which I absolutely love. This is a vibe as well. This and Oh Laura are the two like kind of slower songs that I think feel very related.
That's interesting that those are your two favorite songs.
They stand out the most to me. So I feel like those were just the ones that I kind of latched onto, and they've made it into my regular rotation. Both of them being great night driving songs. Yeah. Which I love.
I agree with that.
You didn't like this one, did you?
This is a 3.5.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. No, yeah, but...
I was expecting
a 3.
No.
I didn't hate it. I still like it. I'm just, like, again, we're in a divide. I just think I didn't connect with it that much. I do think that it improves... once the singing and the background vocals kick in. I do think that part of the song is stronger. I just think that ultimately it didn't work for me that much.
That's fair.
Although I did like the slower pace of the song.
Yeah, it's a good outro.
Yeah, I feel like it is a good outro. I agree with that.
This is a 4.5 for me.
Nice.
So, gotta.
So, now I'm very intrigued. What's your overall rating?
I think yours is going to be higher. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5.
Wow. Yeah, mine is definitely higher. Mine is a 4.5.
4.5?
I gave it a 4. Wow. I was like, it just works. Even though there were quite a few songs that didn't work that much.
Yeah.
I feel like the strength of some of the songs, like Infatuation, and the fact that a lot of the songs were kind of just staying on 4, you know,
Yeah.
like on this very strong backbone, for lack of a better word. I was just like, I kind of just have to give it a 4.5.
Interesting.
You know?
I was expecting you to say 4, but
Yeah.
4.5
Well,
is really high.
I
That's
went
impressive.
back and forth between the two. And then ultimately I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a 4.5.
Damn.
Yeah.
So this was a success. So I guess you are an EDM fan, and we need to do more and more.
I like S.G. Lewis. What can I say?
He's got a lot of great music. I think this is a solid album. I always said I liked his debut album Times more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. After listening to this one in preparation for this week, I do think I probably like this one more because it is more consistently good. I think Times has it has 2 extremely high points on that album. 2 songs that are either like 4.5s or 5s for me.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it isn't as strong as this album is.
Yeah.
So I do think that this one is an improvement. And
I'm very intrigued.
yes. And I also wanted to say that we were originally going to do a different EDM album for this. We were going to do some festival, like progressive electro house. And then I was listening to my night driving playlist, and the last song that came on was Oh Laura, and I saw the album cover, and I was like, that looks almost like a tennis court.
Yeah.
We should do this for Challengers, because we knew we were going to do EDM for Challengers.
Oh yeah, when I was creating the social media post for the, because I've a lot of times I would go ahead and just kind of work on the next like 10 episodes altogether, just to, you know, so I'm not rushing day of to release it. When I was making that image announcing the episode, I was like, wow, this is so easy because they work together so well. You know, I don't have to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely part of the reason that, well, actually most of the reason that we chose this, because I didn't forget about this album. I've had it like on my list, but it definitely was not like a priority one. And then I was like, oh, this will work with Challengers.
Well, I will also say musically it works with Challengers too, I think.
I agree.
And obviously that is due to the fact that the soundtrack to Challengers is, I wouldn't say it is EDM, but it's obviously influenced. It is? Okay.
I think it's so, like techno.
Yeah, it's like techno EDM pretty much, which we did consider just doing the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But I think we're kind of still discussing if we should ever do that or not.
Yeah, I like to like take the influences from the movie and then come up with an album.
But I would highly recommend that soundtrack.
The soundtrack is very interesting, and it gave me a very different idea of what the movie was going to be about and look like, because I had heard the soundtrack. You've played it for me multiple times. So, you know, But
for those of you who thought that only Brandon forces me to listen to music, it goes the other way too.
It does, yeah. Should we get into the movie?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Challengers.
IMDb logline. Tashi, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, transformed her husband into champion. But to overcome a recent losing streak and redeem himself, he'll need to face off against his former best friend and Tachi's ex-boyfriend. So, as most of you probably know, unless you've been living under a rock, this is the second film we're doing by Luca Guadagnino. He directed it. Written by Justin Kuritsky. Actually, the
Kuritsky.
Kuritsky. Oh, sorry.
No S at the end. Yeah, it's like the Polish pronunciation of it. Kuritsky.
Okay. Sorry, Justin.
He went to Harvard Westlake, so you know.
He did, and he is married to Celine Song, who wrote and directed Past Lives.
I did see that.
Little, yeah. We'll talk about him a little. There's some other cool connections with other things.
Nice.
Yeah. Produced by Amy Pascal, Luca Guadagnino, Zendaya, and Rachel O'Connor. I don't believe Rachel O'Connor has any like connection with Josh O'Connor.
I would assume not, but I don't know.
I don't think so, but to be honest, I didn't look into it. So don't take me at my word. Cinematography by Sayumba Muktipram. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced their name. But same cinematographer as Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah, that's like Luca's go-to person, right?
They've worked at least on 3 or 4 movies. I want to say every single English language film that he's made, and maybe some of his Italian language films.
Interesting.
Yeah. Edited by Mark Costa. Music, obviously, by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Starring Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Feist. Which I think how you pronounce his last name.
I didn't know if it was Feist or Feist.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Feist.
Okay.
But I'm sorry if it's...
Apologies if it isn't.
Apologies. Yeah, but let's start off with talking about Justin Kuritsky. This was actually his first screenplay.
That's insane.
Yeah. He was a playwright and a novelist, so maybe it's not that crazy because he's obviously had a lot of experience writing.
Yeah, but his first like published.
Yeah, but this was the first screenplay he ever wrote.
Oh, this was the first one he wrote?
I believe so, from
my
what I
God.
could tell.
I'm never, it's kind of like you're
Let's
never
give
gonna
up
be
now.
him.
Yeah. He is also known, by the way, for the viral potion seller YouTube video.
I saw that, but I don't know what that is.
I
don't think
didn't
I've
know
seen it.
either, but I know that a lot of people know what that is. So I was
Okay.
like, I kind of have to mention that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said he was influenced by the 2018 US Open match between Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka because he realized that, I guess, during tennis, during a match, you can't talk to your coach if you're a player. And he, as he said, quote, what if you really had to talk about something important that went beyond tennis, something going on with you personally, which I think you can see in this film. And the script landed on the Blacklist, which for those of you who don't know is a site where you can upload a script, get feedback, and if it scores high, then it'll go on a special annual list of, producers' favorite scripts or something like that. That's a generalization, but we just don't have time to
Right, it's
talk.
like the most popular unproduced scripts, and
exactly.
sometimes you'll make it off of there.
Sometimes, yeah.
Rarely.
You just got to pay money for it.
Right.
But yeah, there it was found by producing team Amy Pascal and Rachel O'Connor. Amy Pascal is obviously known for her work at Sony with Spider-Man movies, all that kind of stuff. But they brought it to Guadagnino. And I found it so funny. He was filming a short film with John C. Reilly. And he was like, I had to hide the fact that I was actually reading and not directing because the script was so good. So obviously he came on and he actually asked Karskis to modify the scene where they're in Tashi's hotel room so that Patrick and Art would share a kiss. Because as he said, he thought that in a love triangle, all the corners should touch.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
You gotta make it gay.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it works so well.
You have to make it gay.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll discuss what the movie's about because there's a lot of discussion about what it's actually about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zendaya, O'Connor, and Faced all spent 3 months training for their matches. Obviously with Brad Gilbert, who's a pro tennis player turned coach, and Faced had to gain 30 pounds because he's
crazy.
very thin. And even in this film is thin, but it's like, muscles and stuff. But I just wanted to shout out theater kids who are super thin.
Yeah, you can make it.
Yeah, he's known for theater. He's known for theater, and then he got big with the new West Side Story. So I just found that funny. It was supposed to be released August 11th, 2023.
Yes.
I remember seeing the trailers.
I remember we saw the trailer at a movie we watched together.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, this is going to be good. And then the strike.
Yep. Because of the WGA writer strike and SAG actor strike in 2023, it got pushed. So first got pushed to September 13th, 2023, and then ultimately April 26th, 2024. And that's when it actually came out. It also got pulled out of the Venice Film Festival for the same reason.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And incidentally, another movie starring Mike Faced, The Bike Riders, was also pushed 2023 to 2024 for the same reason. Yeah, so two of his films.
That would suck if you needed money and then
well, I mean,
your
he was
movies-
paid by that point.
Well, do they not get residuals?
I mean, it depends.
I don't know. I don't know how it works for movies.
Yeah, a lot of the big actors will if they're working on a big movie, like for instance, a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't happen as much for smaller movies.
Okay.
Especially if you are not as well known. That being said, I could still see Zendaya, O'Connor, all three of them getting back end. I feel like it's typically more the director who gets it. I wanted to discuss the box office because it made 96 million, but it cost 55 million.
So was it a failure?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about Hollywood accounting. There's a possibility it broke even, but if you take the 2.5 rule into consideration, it didn't, which for those of you who don't know what the rule is, generally because of marketing costs, plus the fact that theaters keep a percentage of the ticket. If you want to know if a film is profitable by not actually being in the room with the people who control the money, typically you take the budget and multiply 2.5. And if it goes above that, then you can consider it profitable. So if you take that, this film definitely wasn't. But I couldn't find any information online on whether it was a flop or if it did break even. So I have no idea.
Yeah, interesting.
But I did want to bring that up because I feel like the summer was at a lot of places when it first came out. Like it was popular online, but
Very
it
much
wasn't.
so.
Yeah, but it wasn't that big of a hit, which I think is sad.
Yeah, it was more of a letterboxed hit.
Yeah, exactly. But it was critically a big hit.
That's true.
Yeah, critics loved it. I think the audience that did see it did love it too. Although I think the trailer did throw them off a little. Because when you watch the trailer, it's very much like, oh, this is so sexy of people like having sex all the time. Like that's kind of the vibe it gives.
Yeah.
They even play S&M, I think, by Rihanna. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you go watch it and it's like still deals with that, but it deals with it in a very different way.
Yes. This is definitely not what I expected,
not what
knowing
anyone
like
expects.
having seen the trailer.
Yeah.
How many ever years ago? 2 years ago at this point. And
yeah, absolutely. I
yeah,
agree with that.
it's very different.
Yeah. It was nominated for quite a few awards and won Best Score at multiple award ceremonies like Golden Globes, but it didn't receive a single Academy Award nomination.
Which I know you were very angry about.
Which I am personally very angry about. It should have won Best Score, absolutely. And I think it should have been nominated for more stuff.
I would say like all three of the actors.
Yeah.
Probably.
Luca Guadagnino.
I mean, yeah. There's one thing.
Cinematography.
Right. I was going to say cinematography, but there's another thing that I was very specifically loved about this movie, and also like going back to Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah.
The coloring on this is beautiful,
It
is so different than what I thought it would be. But it like the color is so vibrant, and it's so like film. You know?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's get into it and talk about it. Why don't we just talk about the cinematography first?
Yeah. It's really good.
It's so good, and it's crazy with how different it is to Call Me by Your Name in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that film is very like true to life kind of, and here you have these crazy scenes of the matches where at one point the camera is the tennis ball, stuff like that.
That was crazy. And I think it was Variety that did like a breakdown of it, of like how they shot it, which I didn't watch because I didn't know this movie and I didn't want to like spoil it.
I know they did use CGI for quite a
Okay, I was going to say, because there was a few times when the ball, you could kind of see like, oh, I think it becomes CGI.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But
well, I think
a lot of those shots were very cool on the court.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Well, I think also it would be hard to have the actors play out the match with an actual ball.
Yeah.
Because you needed to go to specific places, you know?
Exactly.
For the story to work. So I think just in general, it was mostly CGI just because it would take so much time and would be almost impossible to get exactly right if you're not using CGI.
Right. It's like choreography, but you have an extra thing that is uncontrollable.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you like tie a little string to it and like have a helicopter flying back and forth.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
You put it on a drone.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I also love the performances in this film.
I agree. I don't think there's only like three main actors really, which is surprising because it feels like it's like a way bigger story than just the three of them, but it never feels like you need more people. And I even when it got to the end and it just listed the three of them, I was like, oh, there really are only three of them.
Oh yeah.
Like I think just it's crazy.
Because the drama is so big, but it's presented like it's not put in your face in the sense that you don't have the actors like speaking it. It's kind of inside, but you still see it. I think because of that, the fact that it's only three people doesn't really like correlate in your mind. It feels so much bigger, you know?
Yeah.
I did also want to actually shout out Darnell Appling, who plays the umpire.
I saw it was who he was.
Zendaya's personal assistant and best friend.
Yeah.
He said that they were setting up the camera and Guadagnino asked him to sit in the umpire chair. And he was like, okay, probably as a stand-in. But then Guadagnino was like, okay, you're cast.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, you're going to go to umpire school to prepare. I think that's
crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very fun.
So I do want to shout out him. I remembered that. But yeah, I wanted to ask what you thought of the script and the story.
Yeah.
Because there is so much discussion online about what the actual story is and like what the actual meaning of the film is. So I wanted to ask you what you thought.
I thought that this was one of the best scripts that we've seen in a long time.
Yep.
Before I dive into that, I do want to say one last thing about the casting.
Yeah.
Can we please stop making 30-year-olds be like 18?
Yeah, I know.
Can we get 18-year-olds to be 30?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's easier to age someone than it is to de-age
I mean,
them.
I agree. I think
they all did a great job.
they do do a great job. And I think that these three actors do fit their characters particularly well.
Yes.
I'm not saying they are their characters, but they portrayed them very, very well to where it's very believable. But I do agree. In my mind, when I first watched it, I was like, oh yeah, they're like in their mid-20s in the beginning, right? Yeah. That's the one little thing that doesn't fully work.
Right. And I will always like, I don't know, that always like bothers me. It's not enough for it to like change any amount of the score because of how good like the rest of the movie is. Yeah. But talking about the script, I was expecting more gay because everybody had said this is the gay tennis movie. So, I thought that the relationship between Art and Patrick was one of the best that I've seen in cinema. It is one of the most like realistic depictions of a male friendship, especially at that age.
Yeah.
So good. I thought Zendaya was one of like, she's incredible actually.
She is. I think when you watch this film, you understand why she works as much as she does and like why she is.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, I feel like there are a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, Zendaya, she just gets it for her looks. I disagree.
I mean, she's also like drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. And that certainly helps.
Right. But she's
like,
also an incredible actor.
Yeah, it's not only that.
I think she did such a great job portraying like the awkwardly confident like high schooler. And I thought that her portrayal of it was one of the most believable that I've seen. And it also works because she's the one exception where I believed her as like an 18-year-old, but then when she was like 30, I was kind of like, I don't know. Like,
which
but
I think could speak to the fact that, you know how some people just have younger faces.
I was going to say she has a very young face.
Yeah, she has a young face where like even when they are older, they could pass for being younger.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think probably the person that suffers the most is Josh O'Connor.
I agree.
Because you're like, this is a 30-year-old man. I do love the performances in this film. And to your point about Zendaya, I think that also makes her performance as the adult Tashi so much, like it makes it work so much more because you see such a big difference.
And you see her kind of still stuck in this. Like, you know, like her past self.
Well, yeah, she's
like,
stuck in tennis pretty much.
Right.
With the fact that she never got to where she wanted to be.
Yeah, she's stuck at 19 or whatever it was.
And
when
she like is trying to force Art to get there, but he's a different person. He's not her, you know? Yeah.
Their whole relationship I thought was really good. I think they did a great job of making the love triangle. It all felt so believable. Yeah. And it never like the way that the boys would chase after her also was like it was just so well written and so like every single thing was thought of and it never felt like forced. It just felt like a real, and maybe this is a Luca Guadagnino thing. Maybe he just tells like the most real stories ever.
Well, I think in many ways he does.
Are just both like that's what I love about them.
Well, and what I think is believable to your point is the male friendship, and I don't think that ultimately the stories like I don't think that Art and Patrick are gay for each other specifically.
No.
But watching them, you could see how theoretically they could go down that path, you know?
Yeah, because...
which is, I think, why a lot of people think that is the main point of the story, which, like, I could see that being the main point. Obviously, everyone is going to have a different interpretation, you know?
I'm sure that you've also heard this of, like, male friendships are just, like, gay, or, like, gay relationships. Yeah. I mean, we have... a lot of our friends are just very like, you know, that's just kind of how guys are, you know. But I think that I agree with you that I do think that they're probably both bi. Yeah, but I don't agree with that. They're like I don't see it as they want to be with each other and Zendaya's in the way. You know, I do see her saying like she's the homewrecker as like ruining their friendship though. Yeah,
I think their friendship is at the center of the story more so than any sort of like gay relationship that they might have had. And I wanted to bring up the last scene because a lot of people discuss what the last scene means. Yeah, where you pretty much end up with Tashi like standing in the stand saying, "Come on," and then you have Patrick and Art like in each other's arms. And I think that's maybe why a lot of people come away with the interpretation of that this film is about their relationship as a gay couple. I wanted to ask you what you thought this scene and overall this film is about. If you want to, I can go first with what I think it's about.
I mean, I know what this scene is about. I feel like this is them being like, oh yeah, we actually are friends.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that matters.
I agree.
Then Tashi screams, come on, because she's like, this is what tennis is about. Tennis is a relationship.
I completely agree
Yeah.
because I think that each character gets what they want. She gets
Yeah.
like the thrill of tennis back of, you know, pretty much what she says earlier in the film of tennis is a relationship, and they get their friendship back pretty much. So
Yeah.
I actually completely agree. That's what I got from the film.
I thought it was a great ending, and
Yeah.
it was kind of unexpected because, like, you know, the ending's coming up, but
Yeah.
then I was kind of like, oh, that's it? Like,
Yeah.
I was expecting more.
You kind of want to keep watching.
Right. You want to know what
Yeah.
happens next to them because we don't really know who wins the match,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think it's kind of genius to leave it unresolved because you don't need to know. That's not what the story is about.
I agree.
Yeah. I completely agree with your interpretation. That's what the film is about to me.
It's about friendship.
Yeah. It's about their friendship. Yeah, I guess, yeah, about their friendship. Because I was going to say also Tashi's thing, but I do kind of ultimately feel like they are the main characters of the film. Even though Tashi is still a main character, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely, she moves along the story a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
And yeah, but not in a, that's not like a negative comment.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I think
no,
that
not
she's
at
a
all.
fully like developed character
Yeah.
as well. And she totally like,
Absolutely. And she also has, you know, wants and desires, and she gets them at the end too. Like all three of them get them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was really good. This was, I will say about the score. I was expecting this to be a lot colder and a lot more kind of industrial in a weird way,
Yeah.
where, you know, hearing the score and before I knew anything about the film is I thought that the score almost didn't work for me at some points. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But there were a few times where I was like, okay, we're getting a little bit too much. Like, we're in the club a little bit too much while we're looking at the pretty trees around Stanford, you know?
I could see
Like-
that. I know for me, it worked really, really well. And I could see a part of that being the fact that I saw this film in the theater,
Yeah.
which hearing that score in the theater
go crazy.
is an amazing experience.
I think specifically the score works so well when they're playing tennis.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think that's what really just made me fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And I particularly like how they weave in little things. For instance, in the film, you know, if the score is blasting and then a character says something loud, like if you go to the soundtrack, that line is in the score itself.
Oh.
Like they added it in or they
Yeah.
recorded it from the get-go like that, which I really, really like.
Interesting.
Yeah. I just think it's also very re-listenable. Is that even a word?
Yeah, re-listenable.
Re-listenable.
Yeah, I think so.
At least for me. And it kind of gets me like going, like I'm ready to start doing tennis or something, playing tennis or something.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to play it this summer. If anyone wants to play,
Yeah.
since I probably know everyone listening to this episode.
Well, as of right now, who knows
As of
what's
right
going to
now, that's
happen in the next
I'm
few
going to
weeks.
get like a bunch
you
of
know?
DMs
Yeah.
from people I don't know.
And I don't want to play tennis because
Yeah.
I hate tennis.
I've already asked Brandon.
Yeah, I did tennis like once or twice when I was younger, and I was so bad at it that it just wasn't fun.
You got to improve though.
I'm not an athletic person.
I get it.
Yeah.
I also get not like liking to play tennis. It is a very sweaty and like you get out of breath kind of sport.
Yeah. For the record, I did say that I think we should play basketball, and David said no. So and I'm short.
I'd be up for it. I've never been that good at basketball to be honest.
Me
and
neither.
I know, but
I'm
like
5'8".
yeah,
You know.
and I mean we're both white like guys from Midwestern Armenia. Like we don't have experience playing sports.
Right.
do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have
Makes-
more than me. I don't know. I did.
I guess soccer. I'd be up for soccer. I
hate soccer.
you see we like different sports.
The field is too big. That's my main
Yeah, but
problem.
that's a fun part of it.
No, it isn't.
You get to
because
run
it
and
takes-
then kick it.
I hate running.
I like how this episode just devolved into sports. I just don't find
think-
basketball that fun, to be honest.
That's fair. I think being out in the outfield for baseball would be fun because you wouldn't have to do anything. But hitting,
I disagree. Well, I don't like the hitting part because
I
I
hate
can't
hitting.
hit anything.
I can't pitch
and I
either.
can't pitch.
Yeah.
I can't catch either though. So being in the outfield is also really bad.
but
for me.
realistically, if we're like playing with our friends, how many times are they actually going to hit something out that far? Probably not.
That's true.
You know, probably. I don't know if anybody would be able to do like a ground ball
That's
to first or something like that.
Well-
but the other sports, we could do football, but that's not that fun to
Yeah,
play.
it's not that fun to be honest. Oh, but I love football though, aka soccer. We should play sorry.
American football.
Yeah,
We should
No,
play
no, I'm kidding.
Canadian football.
What is Canadian football?
You
Is
add
it-
an extra person.
Oh,
And the end zones
I
are
thought
bigger.
you were gonna say rugby.
No, but that is another sport.
Yeah.
Cricket, I don't know anything about.
Me neither. We could play hockey.
Handball.
I hate him.
Handball looks so fun.
Okay, you know what we could play? The simplest dodgeball. You don't like dodgeball?
No, because I always get hit because I'm not good at it.
Okay, what if it was just me and you though? We'd both miss because we're bad at throwing.
That's true.
So
yeah,
that'd be
but then
boring.
it wouldn't be fun for either one of us.
Yeah, because you want a lot of people.
Yeah, it would just be errant balls going out into the street.
Anyway, what did you rate Challengers?
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
I think for me, I'd like to Call Me by Your Name better, which is why I gave this a 4.
I get that.
But it's very close to being a 4.5 because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
I think that this is... ultimately, the score not working, I think, was kind of part of it.
That's really interesting because I did think that you would really like this, like the score be one of your favorite parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like it. I just feel like at some points it's kind of like...
This is a 5 for me.
I figured.
Yeah, this was my favorite film of last year.
Is this your favorite Luca film?
The thing is, I want to watch Call Me by Your Name. I kind of want to watch every film of his that I've seen back to back.
In one sitting?
Not one sitting, but like within a month. Because it's been a while since I watched Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, like 2 months.
Yeah. So, and it's been a long time. I've seen, I think, all of his English language films. Because he directed Call Me by Your Name, Bones and All, which is his cannibal movie, Challengers, and Queer.
Doesn't he have a new one coming out next year?
I think so. I don't remember what it's called.
I think it's called Untitled Luca Guadagnino film currently, but I don't know.
That would make sense.
I don't know for sure.
But yeah, I've seen all 4 of the films that he's released in English. It's been a while since I've seen most of them except for Challengers.
Yeah.
So I'd want to sit down. I do think it's my favorite. I think so far it goes Challengers, then Call Me by Your Name, then Bones and All, then Queer.
How does Challengers rank amongst the other 5 films that we've done so far? Is it your favorite film we've watched?
I mean, there are a lot of good films. I'd have to pull up my Letterboxd to actually check. It's definitely up there. The thing is, a lot of the films that we watched, they're very different.
They are.
So it's kind of hard for me to compare. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I can choose my favorite movie. I can't. And my 4 favorite movies on Letterboxd keep changing because I can't even decide on 4. I don't know. I feel like it's tied with a lot of these films because I do love a lot of these films so much. Yeah. Because, I mean, Mulholland Drive, that's a favorite of mine. Lord of the Rings trilogy, that's, like, in my opinion, the best fantasy trilogy. You know, Call Me by Your Name is close to being where Challengers is. It's very close. I could see rewatching it and liking it more.
It's a 7 and a 5 too?
I dropped it to 4.5.
Okay.
Upon rewatch, I'm like, it's not as strong. And I do think that Zodiac is a better film.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of films that I gave, very high scores to. I just feel like I can't give a definitive, this is my favorite film because so many of them are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I think this might be, you see, even among sports movies, I can't choose because this doesn't feel like a sports movie.
No. Is it one of the best movies of the 2020s?
Yes.
Okay.
That I will say.
Because it's your favorite of
absolutely.
2024.
Yeah.
And I think you said Another Round was your favorite of 2021 or 2020, whatever it was. Yeah.
So I would say those 2, among others, like Nora and some other films, are my favorites of this decade for sure. And I would say the 20th century,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nora, because it has Armenians in it. Shout
Exactly. That's the only reason, 100%. Not kidding. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I really liked this one. I thought that... I mean, you had spoken so highly of it, so I went in with high expectations, and it lived up to them.
Okay, that's good. For a second, I was like, I hope I didn't affect your liking of it. I hope I didn't overhype it for you.
No,
because I know that's a very real thing.
No, I think that it definitely lived up to the hype of what I thought it would be. I ended up liking it in different ways than I thought I would. Yeah. I guess is the best way to say that.
Which makes sense considering that it isn't what you typically expect.
Yeah, it definitely isn't, and it's different from the trailer as well.
Like it's very different. I think the trailer is fun, but very misleading. Yeah. Which is, I think, why so many people didn't connect with the film because they were just expecting something different.
They're expecting a steamy romance movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which this is a steamy romance movie on the inside, but not on screen itself.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. But I liked this one. I thought this was very good. I think that I may be a very big fan of Luca Guadagnino.
I think you may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to watch more of his stuff.
When the newest one comes out, we'll see it in theaters, I guess.
Is that where we end?
That's where we end.
Nice.
Again, as usual, follow us on Instagram for updates of when our episodes release and, importantly, for announcements of what our next episode is going to be.
So you can follow along.
That's
That's
right.
important.
That's very important. If you want to reach out to us on Instagram DMs or upcpod@email.com.
Gmail.com.
Thank you.
Our email.
Our email.
Gmail.
I'm getting all mixed up here. You can find all our socials on our link tree, which should be on Instagram and our Spotify page, I believe.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll update it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find links to all our socials, our letterbox, our radar music, all that stuff there. And can't wait to see you next episode.
We'll see you.